All right. Hello, Waves Church.
Hello.
How are you this evening? All right. Tonight, my topic is called Love Notes. And I don't know if you've ever written a note like this in class and passed it to anyone. Has anyone ever done that? Does that still happen? You have one person. This was something we did when I was a kid. We wanted to know what the relationship status was with someone, so we just sent them a note. And all you had to do was check a box. Now, some of you, I want to know whether it's a roommate, a teammate, a classmate, or a romantic mate of some sort. Are any of you in a complicated relationship status? Show of hands. Roommates, teammates, class. Nobody. Teammates, roommates. A couple of us. Oh, there's the whole championship soccer team is here. They're in a complicated relationship with each other. They want to know who's going to keep the trophy in their room. The reason why I ask is because whenever things are going well, it's easy to celebrate. And it's easy to say, we did this, or we love that we're in a great spot. Whenever things are going poorly, sometimes we turn to each other and say, whose fault is this? Why are we in this situation right now? And it's easy to start blaming and pointing fingers and wondering, like, if you had done something differently, then my life would be better. If you had done your work for this group project, I wouldn't be scrambling right now. If you had passed the ball or worked harder or just said, I love you before you hung up the phone, whatever it is, things would just be easier. I teach organizational behavior and have a few of my students here tonight. And one of the things I say to my class, because it grieves me when there is a disconnect between groups and teams and churches, I try and emphasize over and over again, so much so that I put it on the midterm, and I am going to put it on the final. And I keep telling them over and over again, it's not a people problem. It's a people puzzle. Oh my goodness. Amazing. The reason why I tell them it's not a people problem, it's a people puzzle, is because I say if you can look in the mirror and understand the contours of your own puzzle piece, you know your personality, your pet peeves, your strengths, your weaknesses, your talents, and you can look at other people and understand the contours of their puzzle piece and understand their strengths, weaknesses, talents, and pet peeves, and then you can zoom out and see the bigger picture, then you can put the puzzle piece together and you can transform any organization, any team, any relationship, any church. And so tonight in this vignette of 7 examples of Jesus interacting with a guy named Peter, it's called Love Notes because their relationship ends with Jesus asking about their relationship status. Jesus essentially ends his relationship with Peter by saying, do you love me? And so that's how it ends. But it starts with scene 1, and I want to invite you to hang in there with me on this journey. I drew all these, by the way. As you can tell, I don't have any notes, so I just drew out some stuff and then said, well, maybe this will work for PowerPoint. So if you have a critique of my drawings, you can tell me after. But this is the first scene because Jesus had a team. And in order to put that team together, he called them, and they were already doing something else. They were what? Fishing. They were out on the boat fishing, and they weren't catching anything. So Jesus says, hey, try this. Cast your nets in deeper waters. Cast your nets on the other side of the boat. And then what happened? The nets completely filled up. It almost sank the boat, and they came ashore, and that's when Jesus revealed to them who he was. And he said, hey, come be on my team. Come follow me. And if you do, I will make you fishers of people. And when Peter realized who Jesus was, it made him uncomfortable, and he kind of freaked out, and he said, I'm not holy enough. I'm not good enough. I can't be around you. He actually told Jesus to go away. But Jesus called him in, and Peter joined his team. Scene 2. This is when Jesus was going to dinner with his team. And Jesus did something that freaked them out, okay? As the leader of the team, he performed the ritual act of washing their feet before dinner. And that's something that a team leader typically wouldn't do. And so when Jesus started doing it, Peter was like, no way, you are not going to wash my feet. And Jesus responded to him and said, if I don't wash your feet, then you're going to have no part of me. And Peter does this crazy 180 and says, fine, wash all of me. I mean, it's really super awkward to go from saying, no, don't wash my feet, to, okay, you can have all of me, wash my whole body. But that's how Peter engaged with Jesus. He's like, hey, throw your nets to the other side. Come, I'll make you catchers of people. And Peter says, no, go away. And now he says, no, you won't wash my feet. And yes, wash my whole body. And then that brings us to scene 3, where Jesus starts to reveal to his team what is going to happen to him. And what happens to Jesus is he dies. He's executed by the state. And he's telling them, this is what is going to happen to me. But if a team leader says, I'm going to die, it's basically telling the team, this isn't going well and I'm going to lose. And so Peter doesn't believe him. And he says, it's impossible. There's no way you're going to die. And when Jesus tells Peter that he is going to die, he also tells Peter, you, in fact, team member, are going to deny me 3 times. And that really freaks Peter out. He does not like that. Which brings us to scene 4. Peter's a defender, and so when these guards came to arrest Jesus for the crimes that they were accusing him of, for leading people astray, for not keeping the rituals, Jesus was praying in the Garden of Gethsemane. They came to arrest him, and Peter says, no way, you're not going to arrest him. And he pulls out his sword and he tries to cut off a guy's head. And the guy dips his head and Peter just nicks his ear. And so this guy's ear is bleeding and Jesus heals it. And he tells Peter, if you live by the sword, you'll die by the sword. Which brings us to the next scene. After Jesus has been executed on the cross, Peter's walking around. There's chaos everywhere. People don't know what to do. And the Bible says there's a charcoal fire burning. And that's the first time in the New Testament that it says that there's a charcoal fire burning. And so Peter's standing around there and someone says, hey, you were with him, weren't you? Peter says, no. Someone else says, you were with him, weren't you? Peter says, no. Finally, the third time, they said, you were one of his followers. You were with him. Peter says, nope. And then what happens? The rooster crows just as Jesus foretold Peter. Can you go with me on this journey for just a second? Can you imagine if someone you love, someone you trusted, your team leader, told you that you were going to betray them? You said, no way, I would never do that. I would defend you with my life. I'm protecting you with the sword. I am going to be with you to the death. And then you get caught up in the chaos and you deny and you deny and you deny. And then when that rooster crows, what shockwaves must have gone down through Peter's body when he actually denied Jesus just as he foretold. The 6th scene is what happens next. Peter goes back to doing exactly what he was doing before he met Jesus. A complete 180. He says, I am gone away to be fishing. And the other team members said, we'll go with you. Which I find some irony in that. Jesus called him out of fishing, said, I'm going to make you catchers of people. And then when he feels like he lost, when he felt like the team was done, when he felt like there was nothing left to accomplish, he goes back exactly where he came from. Back in the boat, back with the nets, back with the other fishers. And Jesus miraculously appears from the dead on the beach for the 7th scene. And as Peter is out on the boat fishing, the same way that Jesus called him happened again. Except Jesus made a charcoal fire on the beach. The second time a charcoal fire is mentioned in the New Testament. And Jesus calls out to him, hey, if you cast your nets on the other side, you'll catch more. And they cast their nets on the other side, and they caught more. And almost sank the boat. They came in, and Jesus made them breakfast. Fresh fish over the fire. And after they had breakfast, Jesus looked at Peter, and this is where the love note comes in. And he says, Peter, do you love me more than these? And Peter responds, of course, I love you. But the way we read it is, do you love me? Yes, I love you. But the way it's written is a little bit different. Jesus asks, do you unconditionally love me? And Peter responds, yes, I'm very fond of you, bro. And Adela, can you help me show them like maybe what a bro hug is? Different than, this is my daughter Adela. Can you give her a little encouragement? What's up, bro? Nice. All right. Thank you, Adela. I love this moment, though, when Peter is saying, do you love me? He uses the word in Greek. Some of us know it. It's agape. Have you heard that word before? It means unconditional love. That's what Jesus is asking. Do you unconditionally love me? And Peter responds, yes, I'm very fond of you. He uses the form philo, brotherly love, fondness. So Jesus asks him again, do you unconditionally love me? Adela, can you come give me a love hug instead of a bro hug? I love you, baby. You see the difference in that? Little bro tap on the back versus an unconditional expression of love. That's what's happening in this moment between Jesus and Peter. And Peter was standing over a charcoal fire when he denied Jesus, just like Jesus said he would. Have you been to a campfire before? What do your clothes smell like when you're done? What does it evoke for you? So when Jesus catches Peter doing exactly what he was doing before he met Jesus, what does that remind Peter of, do you think? Is it shame, potentially? Does he feel caught? There's a gap in the details for us. But because there's a gap, it makes me wonder. So Jesus says, do you unconditionally love me? Peter says, you know I love you, bro. Jesus says, do you unconditionally love me? He says, yes, I'm very fond of you, bro. So 2 times. The 3rd time, Jesus says, are you very fond of me? And then Peter gets mad and says, you know I am very fond of you. And I just keep thinking about that over and over again because I find myself in relationship with Jesus constantly going back to doing the things that I did before I knew Jesus. And then I find Jesus standing in front of me, asking me the question, what's our relationship status? And sometimes I click, it's complicated. Sometimes I click, maybe. And sometimes I click unconditionally, yes, I'm here. But Jesus has built a relationship with his followers by asking that question. In John chapter 25, where all of this is recorded, after Jesus asked those questions 3 times, and Peter says, Lord, Peter felt hurt. He says, Lord, you know everything. You know that I'm very fond of you. And Jesus says to him, feed my sheep. And then he ends with these words, very truly I tell you, when you were younger, you used to fasten your own belt and go wherever you wish. But when you grow old, you will stretch out your hands and someone else will fasten a belt around you and take you where you do not wish to go. And he said this to indicate the kind of death by which he would glorify God. And after this, Jesus said to Peter, follow me. Tonight, we're going to take communion together like we always do as a church. But before we do, I want you to take just a moment and think about your status. Think about your relationship. Think about these love notes. And I want you to answer the question, do you love me? I want you to imagine Jesus asking you, standing on the beach after making you breakfast, how will you answer that question? We have very haphazardly scattered index cards, sticky notes, and pens all over. Look under your seat. Look around. If you can't find one, maybe pass one down. If you can't find anything, raise your hand and the amazing Jen Gash will deliver to you a sticky note. So here's what I want to do tonight before we take communion. The worship team's going to come up in just a minute. And I want you to think, how would you respond? What would you say? Where are you right now? And what is Jesus asking you to do? Do you unconditionally love me? And then, whenever you're done, and if you're taking communion tonight, just come down the center aisle, and we have communion tables set up on the front corners up here and also at the back, on the back wall. And after you've finished writing your response to Jesus, I want you to just leave that note card on the table. You don't have to write your name on it. It will not be graded. And it's a chance for you to engage with this question in a meaningful way, knowing that Jesus sees you and is also asking that you see him. So take a few minutes and fill it out, and whenever you're done, leave the card on the communion table and take communion with you, and then worship with us. Thank you for coming to Waves Church tonight.